Mr. President, it's hard to believe, but the Internet as we know it is already in its third decade. And while it's no longer novel, this essential technology continues to transform the world around us, often in very unexpected ways. Just a few short years ago, the idea of the Internet being built into farm equipment like tractors would have been unthinkable. And yet today, wireless Internet in tractors and combines is making agriculture more and more efficient. This is one small example of how new information technologies have become a fundamental part of our economy. There isn't a job creator in America, Mr. President, who doesn't have a story to tell about how or when he or she realized the Internet had become a critical part of his or her business. But while the digital economy is creating massive opportunities, our nation's laws are not keeping pace. Over the past several years, Netflix and Amazon have completely disrupted the video world. The iPhone, which redefined personal computing and connectivity, just celebrated its 10th anniversary. Yet most of the government policies dealing with video, wireless, and Internet platforms were written for a world where none of these things even existed. It's a testament to the ingenuity of American businesses and entrepreneurs that they have been able to adapt and succeed with laws that are increasingly out of date. And while I don't doubt that they will continue to work around these challenges, American companies and consumers deserve better. It's past time to modernize our communication laws to facilitate the growth of the Internet. And it's high time to update government policies to better reflect the innovations made possible by digital technologies. As chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee, I've committed to modernizing government policies to the digital age. And that will be one of our top priorities at the Commerce Committee this year. One way government can boost investment in our digital infrastructure is by finding ways to make it cheaper and easier to build broadband networks. At the Commerce Committee, I introduced legislation called the Mobile Now Act to ensure that huge swaths of wireless spectrum are made available for commercial use by the year 2020. By then, we expect to see the next generation of ultra-high-speed mobile services known as 5G, which will need more spectrum than is available today. The Mobile Now Act would also cut through much of the bureaucratic red tape that makes it difficult to build wireless infrastructure on federal property. I'm happy to report that the Commerce Committee passed the Mobile Now Act earlier today. But, Mr. President, this legislation is just the start. The Commerce Committee will continue to develop legislative proposals to spur broadband deployment, make more spectrum available for the public, and improve connectivity throughout rural America. Good Internet infrastructure policies and investments matter very little, however, if government bureaucrats can overregulate the digital world. The Federal Communications Commission has long been the main government regulator for telecommunications, but as we've turned away from traditional telecom services and toward new technologies, the FCC has found its role gradually diminishing. This is an inevitable and good byproduct of technological innovation. But instead of accepting this, over the past several years, the FCC has aggressively pushed the government, or pushed, I should say, for government interference in the Internet. Speaking about new economic opportunities on the Internet, the last FCC chairman declared, and I quote, "Government is where we will work this out," end quote. Government is where we will work this out. Well, Mr. President, I believe consumers and job creators should be the ones deciding about new technologies, not the government. And I think most Americans would agree. Right now, some Internet providers are offering innovative service plans that allow you to stream video, music, or other content for free. These innovative offers are a sign of strong competition in the marketplace. Yet 2 weeks ago, the outgoing FCC issued a report raising what it called, and I quote, "serious concerns that such practices likely harm consumers," end quote. That's right, Mr. President. It seems that the FCC thinks that being able to do more online for less money is somehow bad for consumers. Meanwhile, consumers themselves seem to strongly disagree because a lot of these free data offerings are turning out to be quite popular. Well, Mr. President, one of the important takeaways from November's election is that the American people are tired of government bureaucrats trying to micromanage their lives. One way we can address this concern is by modernizing how the FCC operates and reforming what it's allowed to do. The FCC should be focused on fixing fundamental problems in the marketplace, not dictating the direction of technological progress. The last time Congress passed meaningful laws affecting the FCC was when the Internet was in its infancy. It is clearly time for FCC reform once again. At the Commerce Committee, we've had many conversations about improving this agency, and I believe that this year presents a real opportunity to turn those conversations into solutions. And I'm confident that we can attract the bipartisan support that's needed to move legislation modernizing the FCC across the Senate floor. Another area where I'd like to achieve bipartisan agreement is on legislation to protect the open Internet. We need clear and reasonable rules for the digital road that everyone can understand. Complex and ambiguous regulations that shift with the political winds aren't in anyone's best interest. For Americans to get the maximum benefit from the Internet, they need certainty about what the rules are, and most importantly, what the rules will be in the coming years. And the only way to achieve this is for Congress to pass bipartisan legislation. I've been working with my colleagues to find a legislative solution, and while we're not there yet, I'm committed to getting there. Mr. President, the Commerce Committee was incredibly productive last year with 60 measures enacted into law. We made real progress on Internet-focused legislation, including committee approval of the Mobile Now Act that I mentioned earlier. And we'll build on that foundation in this Congress. I look forward to taking advantage of the good ideas of our committee members on both sides of the aisle. And Mr. President, at the end of the day, it's not, as I said, Congress that's going to come up with the best solutions. It will be the American innovators and entrepreneurs who will determine what the digital future holds, not us here in Washington, D.C. Government should focus on facilitating their success while making sure that we are not accidentally standing in their way. I'm excited to see how the Internet and other emerging technologies will continue to change our world in the coming years. And I am eager, Mr. President, to do my small part in ensuring that all Americans benefit from these amazing, amazing advances. Mr. President, I yield the floor and I suggest the absence of a quorum.